Hi, my name's Rich Charters.
And I'm Jenny Charters.
And I'm Dallin Charters.
And today we're going to talk about a strategic worker placement game called
Viticulture.
Viticulture. Viticulture is a game for 1 to 6 players and age 13 up, and it says it takes 45 to 90 minutes. Does it sound about right? Mm-hmm. And we played it a few times. We played it 2-player and we played it 5-player, and that's all so far. Dallin and I actually, Jen hasn't played this game yet, have you? Mm-hmm. And today I think we're just going to play a 2-player game. Jen, you're going to be our camera person, right?
Yeah.
And Dallin and I are 1 and 1, so 1 each, 1 win each. So this will be our tie break here on our 3rd game. So with that, let's go ahead, Jen, if you can zoom in on this board, mm-hmm. and we'll explain the rules and the board a little bit. Okay, the game of Viticulture, it's a nice worker placement game, and how it works is, matter of fact, Jen, why don't you start by zooming in over here, and I'll just explain this real quick, if you can get close enough to read this. It's made up of 4 seasons a year is what you play through, and then there's probably, I don't know, Dal, how many years have we played? 5, 6 years, something like that? Maybe, no, I guess less than that, somewhere in there. But anyway, this is what happens, same thing each year. So first you have spring, where you choose your player order, and that's for the rest of the year. Then you have summer, where you do worker placement, but only on half the board. So half the board is the summer worker placement, and half the board is the winter worker placement. In fall, you just draw 1 card. So you have your summer and then your winter worker placement, and then you just do a little cleanup at the end of the year where your wine and your grapes will age. You'll get your workers back. You'll get any residual income that you have, and then you'll go into the next year. So that's basically how it works. Now let's just show each part of the board, and I'll explain in a little bit more detail. So to check your starting player, it's very simple. You each have a rooster here. This is your starting player token. It's a bunch of grapes, and then you each have a rooster. And so if I'm playing yellow and I started, I may say, okay, I can choose any wake-up position, 1 through 7. Let's say, and there's rewards associated with each. Now with 1, there is no reward, because if you choose 1, you're guaranteed to go first. If you choose down here 7, you get to play an extra worker for that year. If you choose 6, you get an extra victory point. If you choose position 4, you get an extra $1, etc. So you don't bid back and forth, you just decide. Whoever goes first places, and then whoever goes next can decide whether he wants to get up earlier or if he wants to get up later in their turn order. So that is very quick. And then we move on to this part of the board, all these yellow spaces. And let's just talk about each of them quickly from the bottom here. This is build a structure. So if you place a worker here, then you are in a position, and in a 2-player game, there's 3 spots here. In a 2-player game, you only use 1 of the spots. So if I were to go there, Dallin would be blocked. He could not also go there unless he used a grande worker, which we'll talk about in a minute. But this space says build 1 structure. So if I place here, I can build several of the structures which are available. There are a trellis, a agriculture, a windmill, a tasting room, a yoke, and 2 cellars, and we'll show the player board in a minute where we'll see some more detail on that. If you go here, you get to give a tour and gain $2. This is kind of a quick money grab. If you go here, you get to draw a wine card, or excuse me, vines. So this is where everything starts. To make wine, obviously you start with vines, then you plant the vines, which is this action here, plant vines in your fields, and then you harvest them, and then you crush them into grapes or into wine, and then you sell the wine. This action here is sell at least 1 grape or buy a field. So once you have grapes, you can sell them directly, but that's pretty rare. It's usually better to make wine and sell the wine. It's worth more points. If you go here, that allows you to play 1 of your yellow cards which you accumulate. These are the summer visitor cards. Again, summer has yellow cards, winter has blue cards. And then for fall season, all you do is draw 1 of those visitor cards. And then in winter, you have some additional set of worker placement spaces. Let's go through them quickly. This one says draw one purple card. That is your vine order, or excuse me, your wine order. So in the summer you draw vine cards, in the winter you draw wine order cards. Up here is the play one winter visitor card, and it allows you to play these cards. And these cards, by the way, give you certain powers. So you play the card and then you follow the instructions there to get certain, break the rules a little bit to get certain powers or certain benefits and things like that. Here is harvest. So if you place here, you get a harvest one of your fields. So once you have fields planted on your player board, you can harvest those grapes, and then you have grapes instead of just things in your field. And once you have grapes, you can take this action, which is make up to 2 wine tokens. So you convert those grapes that you have into wine. And here is where you fill an order card. So this is where you go if you have enough wine in order to fill one of your orders. And the order cards look like this. Can you zoom in on this card, Jen? I'll just try to hold it still. So you can see there's 2 types of wines that this card is trying to fulfill. Can you see that, Jen?
Yeah, hold on.
This says you want a level 4 white wine and a level 7 sparkling wine. And if you can achieve both those wines, then you take that space which I just showed, and as a result of that you would get 6 victory points and plus 2 in your residual income. So this whole game is about getting that wine engine going. You get vine cards, you plant those vine cards on your player board in your fields. You then harvest those fields to get grapes. You then crush those grapes to make wine, and then you get an order card like this and you sell that wine. And you have to make sure you have the right level wine, and then you get victory points and income, which you'll get every year for the rest of the game. Okay, so that is how you sell. And there's 2 other spaces down here at the bottom. One is train worker. So you start the game generally with 3 workers, but you have 6 available to you. So it's possible to take this action 3 times. And if you do that, you will in fact get all 6 of your workers. But in order to get a worker, you have to pay $4, and then you'll get a worker at the end of that turn. This last space is available in both summer and winter. You notice it's neither yellow for summer or blue for winter. But you can just place, on your turn, place a worker there, and then on your next turn you can place another. You can place unlimited amounts, and this just allows you to gain $1. It's kind of rare to use it, but if you occasionally you won't have anything productive you can do with the worker, and this is a way to punt, so it's not useless. You get at least $1 out of the deal. And I think, Dal, did I miss anything on the board? At the bottom you'll see an action track. You start here at 0. And you can go negative because certain of these cards that we talked about will have things like give up 1 action point in order to get some benefit on the board, like a building for free or get grapes for free or something like that. That's why you can go negative, but you can't go beyond -5. So if you get way down in this area and you want to take one of those actions, you're not allowed in this game to do something that you physically can't do. So I can't give up any more action points, so I couldn't play a card like that. And then we'll proceed up the point track until victory point track until someone achieves 20 or above. And at that point, we just play to the end of the year. So if they got these points up to here, let's say they got to 21 in summer, we don't end at the end of summer. We play all the way to the end of the year. And by the end of the year, whoever has the most most victory points wins, and the first tie break is money, the second tie break is the value of your wine, and the third tie break is the value of your grapes. So with that, let me explain the player board. So Jen, I need you to, well, I'll put it here. Maybe,
yeah, that's better.
Will that work?
Yes.
And then just zoom in on this. So what happens here is you'll see there's various buildings you can build. Here's a trellis, and on the far side is the irrigation that you can build. Why would you build that? Because certain grapes, and let me show an example so it's a little bit clearer. Okay, here's a good example. Chardonnay. And I'm going to try to hold it. Oh, no, I'll just lay it here. Can you just zoom right in on this card? If you wanted to plant this grape, you could plant it in one of 3 fields, 1, 2, or 3. Sorry to move it around on you, Jen. But this is a Chardonnay grape. It gives you a level 4 grape. You can see that here. But in order to plant it, you notice there's a picture here of a trellis. which is one building you can build, and there's also irrigation, which is a second building you can build. So if I wanted to plant this grape or this vine card in my field, I would first need to build the prerequisite structures. And if there is no prerequisite structure, like, oh, here's another grape card, and you notice this one, you only need the trellis. You wouldn't need to build your irrigation. And this one, you notice you don't need any prerequisites. So all you'd have to do is take the plant action and you could put this in one of your fields. The other thing I'll mention about the fields is there's a max. So this says max is 5, max is 6, max is 7. What does that mean? Well, you can plant multiple grapevines in one field. For instance, this would be, okay, you could do 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, I happen to place that in the 6th field, so this would exceed the value of this field. If I wanted to plant these 3 vines together, I would have to do it in a field that could take that many vines. And there's only one that has 7, the other has 6, and the other has 5. I would need to do 3 separate actions to plant these, because when you take the plant action, you only plant 1 vine card in your field, but you can plant over existing ones. And then if I decided to take the action to harvest these grapes, I would get 1 white grape at level 4 and 1, although there's 2 here, I only get 1 red grape, and it would be at level 3. You add the sum of the red and the sum of the white to get your 2 tokens when you harvest a field. Okay, so that's kind of how the harvesting works. And then let's say I did that. Let me show you how you mark that. I would say, and Jen, you'll have to zoom to this other part of the board. There's these little markers. They're kind of magnify. They're kind of cool. But you say that's a level 3 on the red and level 4 on the white. And that's how you mark your grapes. And each year, those grapes will actually, at the end of the year, they will age. And aging grapes in this game is a good thing, because it allows you to make more powerful wine. Then later in the game, if you choose make a wine action, let's say I have a level 5 white grape, then I choose the make a wine action, and I can in fact make a level 5 white wine, which is here. But in order to do that, this is another rule, another building that's available to us, we start the game with only a small cellar. You see, that's for 3 levels of wine. For the next 3 levels of wine, I would need to in fact build my medium cellar, and then if I wanted to age beyond that, I would build my large cellar, and then I can use all these spaces are available for my wine. And obviously, if you have more powerful wine that's worth a lot more, then you can fill more powerful order cards and earn a lot more points. So that's the game. Get these green vine cards, plant them in your field so you have grapes, harvest the grapes, and that they'll show up over here like this. Let the grapes age, and then you make wine, and then you sell that wine for points. So that in essence is the game, and there's obviously a lot more to it, but I think it's best if we just play a game and then we can understand it a little bit. Okay, we did a random draw and I got the first player marker, so I get to place my rooster first. I'm going for number 2 because I get a vine card, and so I take that reward immediately. Okay, down.
Extra worker.
He's going for the extra worker. Always good to have more workers. Okay, so because that's as quick as spring is, now we're into summer. Build action. And that means I have to pay to build, but my trellis, which looks like this, costs 2 to build, and so I'm going to pay my only $2 I have back to the bank, and I'm building my trellis. It goes right on the player board, and now I can build, or I can place grapes or plant grapes on my fields that require a trellis. Go ahead, Dal. Dallin started the game with 0 vine cards, so he of course needs to grab some to do something with it. And I'm going to now plant a field. And I'm going to plant, because I don't know if you're zoomed in on this, but because I built my trellis, which looks like this again, it's a match, see? I can plant a Pinot card, and that will yield 1 red and 1 white grape. So I'm going to plant that in my value 7 field over here.
And I'll play a yellow card, and it says plant any vine even if you don't have the required structures.
Oh,
And so I will plant this vine.
okay, and what does it give you? And that's a good way to get powerful cards out first. So that is a Chardonnay, and it's normally would require a trellis and irrigation because it yields a very powerful grape, a level 4 white grape, but he got it for without needing to build any of those. So that's a good way to jumpstart his wine economy. And it's my turn. I only have one worker left, the Grande, and we'll explain how those work once we get there. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pass. So usually you slide your rooster over to signify you're ready to move on to the next, because you only have 3 workers, and your workers, you don't get to pull them back for winter. You get the same set of workers for the entire year. So if you use them all in summer, you're out of luck for winter. Okay, Dal?
I'll pass.
You're passing as well. Okay, so we both pass. That means we go into fall. And for fall, you draw 1 card. You can either choose a summer or a winter. Because I started the game with my cottage, I get to draw an extra one. So I'm going to draw both a summer and a winter. Okay, so we're now to we've drawn the fall season, so now we're in winter. Again, the worker placement. I only have 1 worker, and so does Dallin. Oh, you saved 2. I stand corrected. He's going to have a good winter here. I'm going to, well, I have a vine in the field. I better harvest it, so I'm going to go ahead and harvest that. So that means I get 1 red and 1 white, and I place those on my individual player board here. So now I have grapes. Okay, Dal, here you go.
I'll harvest 2.
And notice I block the only space. In the 2-player game, there's only 1 space that you use, so it's completely blocked. But that's the beauty of the Grande worker. Even if a space is blocked, you can always place a Grande worker there, and he plays regardless of whether or not it's blocked. He's non-blockable, which is nice, because in a worker placement game, blocking spaces is always part of the strategy, but there's a way that you can go around that so it's not quite as frustrating. It's kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, and then I will pay to train another worker.
Okay, so he pays $4. He places that second worker. So when we retrieve workers at the end of the year, Dow will have 4 and I will be stuck with only 3. And it is the end of the year because I pass and you pass because we're all out of workers here. That's the first year. Year 1 is done. I'll put this to signify year 1, done. So we'll see how many years this game takes. So he wants vine cards, and I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to go ahead and, there's only 20 victory points to win, so I'm going to go ahead and take a victory point. Because sometimes 1 victory point will make a difference in this game. Every point is important. Okay, Dal, you're up first.
Play a yellow card. Plant 1 vine card even without the required structures. Another one. I'll plant that here.
Okay, and I'm short on cash. In this game, you're always short on cash at the beginning. Money's tight. At the end, it can free up sometimes, although in my last game, I was short kind of tight the entire game. Another way to get money while he's doing that is you can sell one of these fields for 5 and you just turn the card over and it shows it's sold, and then you can buy it back later if you'd like.
Green.
He needs more vines. He wants to plant some stuff. I'm going to go ahead and plant. I'm going to plant my big guy. And you'll see why in a minute, but I'm going to go ahead and plant a Sauvignon Blanc in the same field. Okay?
Pass.
Dow passes. Going to pass. So anyway, we're in fall now, so draw a card, and I take 1 of each because I do have the cottage built up. All right, and with that, we're in winter, and Dallin, you are first.
Harvest 1 field.
And I'll play a winter card, and it says a crusher. I can either gain $3 and draw a summer visitor, or I can draw a wine card and make up to 2 wines. and I realized that I have 2 grapes, so I'm going to go ahead and do the second option, which is draw a wine order card, and I'm going to make 2 wines. So my level 2 white grape becomes a level 2 wine, and my level 2 red grape becomes a level 2 red wine. And that's that. Dow's last worker. He draws a vine order card with his final guy. Okay, we're back. We had a few technical difficulties, so we kept playing, and we're now just starting our 6th year. So there's a few more years in this game than I thought, because we've zoomed through these years pretty quick. But Dow has already filled 1 order, and that's why you see he's sprung ahead of me. He was behind. He used a few cards to go behind on the points, but now he's sprung ahead by filling an order. He has no wine in his cellar, but he does have for 6 grapes there, and I have no grapes, but I have 6 bottles of wine in my cellars. He's built his medium and his large cellar. I built my medium cellar, and I've built irrigation and trellis, and he has irrigation. So our farms are kind of comparable, but he's already jumped out to filling his first wine. So now we're starting the 6th year. Dow, you're going first.
Build a structure. We'll build trellis, $2.
Okay, and I'm going to go, I took the gray worker for my bonus, so I'm going to play a yellow card, and playing this guy gains me $3, which I'll take. I would hand this down to 0 money.
Plant. I will plant this. I will plant this here.
And I'm going to take the money grab here. I'm going to give a tour of my vineyard to gain $2 more. Up to 5. Go ahead, Dow.
I'll pass.
Dow's passing. And now, do I want to try to do one other thing? I want to pass as well.
Okay. And then play a blue. Harvest up to 3 fields. If you harvest 3 fields, gain 2 victory points.
Wow, he's just going to load up on grapes big time.
So 2 victory points. 2. And then a 4. A 3. 3. And a 4.
Wow, and he's harvested all of his fields. You can only harvest your fields once a year. So I know Dow can't go here anymore, so I'm not gonna, I was thinking about harvesting, but I realized he can't block me there, so I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna train a worker. And when I do that, I have to pay 4, which I will. And then I put another worker here, which I get at the end of the turn. Okay,
Make wine.
he's got a lot of grapes, so he's gonna convert that into wine now. He can, and when you take this action, you can make up to 2 bottles of wine. So you convert 2 grapes to wine. And we didn't talk about it. There's also 2 kind of more sophisticated wines, a blush wine and sparkling wine. And normally you convert 1 to 1, wine to grape. But for blush, you convert 2 to 1. And for sparkling, you convert 3 to 1. So it's much more difficult to produce those wines. But as you would expect, it's much more valuable to do so. All right. You done?
Yeah.
I'm going to fill an order, and the order is here. It requires 4 red, a 3 red, and a 2 red. So I have 3 red wines, so I lose all those. But that does give me 4 victory points. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm staying pace with Dallin, and I get 1 on the residual income there. Okay, your turn down.
I pass.
You pass, and I have 1 more worker here. And with that worker, as promised, I'm going to harvest a field. And I'm going to harvest this field here to get a level 4 white grape and a level 1 red grape.
We never did fall.
Well, we forgot to do our fall, so let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to take 1 of each. Okay, start of year 7.
Wine order.
He's taking 3rd position for wine order. I'm going to take the 4th position to get $1. Okay, now you go first, huh?
And I'll pass.
He's passing right off the bat. He's going to go for a big year there. I'm not going to pass. I'm going to build. For 6, I'm going to build a tasting room, which allows me to, if I give a tour, I get 1 victory point in addition to the $2. Okay, and now he's passed, so I can go again if I want to, and I actually do want to. Take advantage of that, and I'm going to give a tour for $2. And I'm also going to then you already gave me a victory point. Okay, great. I'm going to pass as well. Okay, so now we go into fall, and I'm going to take 2 winter visitors.
Make 2 wines. And I want to...
Okay, he's making 2 wines. And while he's doing that, just for a little simultaneous play, I'm going to harvest 1 field.
I think I'm gonna play here. Harvest 1 field and either draw 1 green card or pay 1 to build the yolk. I'll pay 1 to build the yolk.
Okay, and you get a harvest field as well.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fill in order while you're doing that. An 8 rosé, or 8 blush wine, which I have. Gives me 4 victory points. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 residual income if you move me up. All right. And your play again.
Then I pay 4. Get my worker. And your turn.
Okay, I'm going to play a winter worker, and I'm going to play the judge. I can draw 2 summer visitors, which I'm not going to do, or discard 1 wine of value 4 or more, and I do have a value 5 white. I'm going to discard that to gain 3 victory points. So if you move me up 3. So it puts me at 14 and Dow's at 9. Okay, so, and I pass because I'm done. I have no more workers. Dow has 1 more to play.
Fill this. 2 red.
2 red.
3 victory points.
3 victory points. I got it. 1, 2, 3. You're at 12 now.
And then 1 up the scale.
And he's getting more residual income. Okay, so with that, that's the end of the year. So we first age everything we have. Grapes and wine. Then we pull back our workers. And then, and you've aged your stuff already?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then we're aged, our workers back, we get our residual income. You get 4, I get 3. And then we make sure we have only 7 cards. I'm good and you're good as well, it looks like. And so with that, the start player marker moves and I decide where I want to go, and I'm going to say, give me a wine order card.
Okay. I will take...
So at the beginning of the game, wine order cards, you very rarely choose it, but towards the end, it's pretty powerful because that's how we're both in our push to try to get to 20 here. He's getting the extra worker, okay. Okay, and now I'm going to play a card which says pay $9 to get 3 victory points. That's a broker. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's all my money. Okay. Oops. Excuse me. Pay 9 so move me up 3. So I'm up to 17, putting the pressure on. Now this is where it gets a little tricky because he's realizing I'm within striking distance. 1, 2, 3. I only need 3 points and I can end the game. So he's saying, how can he get up around 20 in this turn if you can.
I pass.
So he's passing, and I'm going to play 2 to take the money grab, and because I have the tasting room, I'll scoop up 1 victory point. So I'm within 2 of ending the game. And then I'm passing as well. So we each draw whatever cards we want here. I'm going to draw 2 fall cards.
I'll take.
And so I am going to make up to 2 bottles of wine. My red goes to a 2. My white 5 goes to a white 5 wine.
Okay, I'll play this.
Hang on a second. Go ahead, Dal.
Choose to draw 1 purple, upgrade your cellar at a regular cost, or gain a victory point. I'll gain a victory point and purple.
Okay, Dal is not going to like this because I'm now going to fill an order. It's a 2 red wine and 4 white wine, which I have. That gives me 3 points, which gives me 1, 2, 3, 21 points. So the game will definitely end this round. And my residual income goes up to 4. So Dal now has to figure out how to score 7 points in 1 turn. No, 8 points to tie here.
I can't win.
Dal's thinking he can't do it.
No, I can't.
Okay, the game finished, and I was able to edge out Dal. I got 21 points and won the game. And he did not have he had a wine order card that would have given him 6 points. That would have put him right next to where I was, but he wasn't quite able to get that. Kind of evens out, or that puts me 1 up in our match, so he'll want to settle this grudge match again soon. But anyway, let's talk about the game a little. Dallin, what are your thoughts about the game?
I like it. It's fun. I would rank it 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10, okay. Jen, you haven't played this yet. What are your
No,
thoughts just
not
looking
yet.
at the board and the components
Well,
and things?
I'm looking forward to playing it because it looks like a super unique game, really fun, and the board looks just really real, how it's a village and so different. And I think it's gonna be an exciting game.
Okay, and for me, I really have enjoyed this game. I think it's a very straightforward worker placement, but there's a lot of depth in it as well. And you can see at the end of the game, there's a crunch where you have to kind of calculate and know what you're going to do and how to get the right wine order cards to finish that game, because it'll come down to someone will spring up from 13, 14, or 15 all the way past 20. And if you're not prepared to match them, you're not going to win the game. So it's a little deeper than you'd think at first look, because the rules are extremely simple. Place and do it. And it's kind of fun that you plant your fields, you harvest your fields, you crush those grapes into wine, and then you sell the wine. So it's the 5-step process to get all the way start to finish. And it's really nice from that perspective. I would, if on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this game a 9. I rank it right in my top worker placement games, and I've really enjoyed it. And so that is Viticulture.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.